So one of the things that I want to first raise with you is the question of where entrepreneurship policy begins, right? And so when we think about entrepreneurship policy, we typically are thinking about policies that govern the process of registering a business or starting a business, getting your incorporation paperwork, filing for your tax identification number. We might also think about things like contracts and hiring employees and making sure that you can get all those ducks in a row. And so we typically think about things that happen at the time that you either decide to start a business or take action to start a business, and then also the early life of growing your business. More broadly, we might think about things like the way the labor market allows people to move in and out of business ownership. And so if you've seen conversations around the use of non-competes, for example, that's an interesting example about whether workers can move in and out of business ownership in their areas. And so that represents early barriers and early inputs to start, right? But what really affects the pathway of an individual from birth, from early childhood, to the point at which there's a business opportunity? And then they take it, they can leverage it, they can act on it, and they can be successful. A lot of those things actually happen much earlier in the life of an individual and are shaped by things like family and household and geography, and then really create the conditions that someone has when they're 21 or 28 or 38 or 58, and they decide to start a business. And so there are three things that I wanted to point out. So the first is that we know that entrepreneurs come from the population, right? So there isn't you don't have a special gene that makes you an entrepreneur, right? You're in the population, and tomorrow you might start a business, you might not. So we know entrepreneurs come from the population. And we know also that people move in and out of being entrepreneurs over the course of their lifetime, right? So sometimes you're an employee, sometimes you own a business, sometimes you do something else. We also know that who is exposed to opportunity and who has access to the resources to act on it can vary significantly depending on your position in social structure as well as where you are in the world. And so, for example, there are places where women can't access loans to start a business or access the process of engaging with bank accounts in the same way that men can, right? And then the third thing is there are a number of policy conditions that create that shape your ability to recognize, to act on, and then to continue to harness opportunity. And those conditions exist at multiple levels. The example that I'll give you is research on the lost Einsteins, which has been done by Alex Bell and several of his colleagues at Opportunity Insights, shows that children from high-income households are 10 times as likely to become inventors from households below the median. They also find that this gap persists even among children that have similar math scores. And so it's not really evidence of ability, right? It's evidence really of environment being a big difference.